Well, hello and welcome to another Pokemon challenge. Today I want to attempt a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Emerald using only the bug types. Now you'll see we have changed it up. You guys asked for this layout, tracking the Pokemon, tracking our attempts, tracking our deaths, our badges, the whole 9 yards. We're going to try this out. Before we get started, I do want to say that there is a little bit of this that I wasn't paying attention to how this bottom section was going, and we have some minor technical issues, but we do get it figured out. Bear with me, this is my first try at adding this stuff to our attempts. But let's get into looking at these encounters. We have some really good Pokemon that we can use, some that I have no idea about. The Wurmple line, we'll talk about that momentarily. The Nincada line, there's actually 2 Pokemon that we can get from that. We can get ourselves a Volbeat or Illumise. Volbeat has a lesser chance, so we'll probably be using the former. We can get the Armaldo from the Claw Fossil. We can get Pinsir or Heracross, both of which we've used a couple of different times. And if we actually went through the post game, we could use Ladybug, Spinarak, Pinnacle, or Shuckle. However, they're found in the Safari Zone and only after we beat the Elite Four. So we've got some decent encounters. We got 7 to use instead of 6. Let's get started. Now, of course, none of these starters are bug type, so we're just going to go with Trico giving our rival the Torchic. I don't think that's going to be a problem, and we're probably not even going to show the May battles. We could open the randomizer and change it to one of the Pokemon I talked about getting after the Elite Four: Ladybug, Spinarak, Pinnacle, or Shuckle. I know it's not Pinnacle. I used to call it that when I was a kid. You guys got mad at me for the way I say rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I don't care. Anyway, I'd rather not do that. We're going to use Trico to beat May here, and then we are going to get access to a starter named Wurmple, which we will talk about momentarily. So I think hitting this first battle isn't changing much of the game. Plus, these runs don't really start until we get Pokeballs, which we have just obtained, so let's go get our actual starter from Route 101. So I did name this Wurmple Swallowtail. It has a gentle plus special defense minus defense nature. Now, when it comes to Wurmple, it actually evolves into 2 different Pokemon, Silcoon and Cascoon. Cascoon evolves into Dustox, and Silcoon evolves into Beautifly. That is where the name theme comes from. If you can guess it, put your guesses in the comment section below. Normally we use the species clause, but since Wurmple evolves into 2 separate Pokemon, I think we're going to let that rule slide for this run. This gives us an option to use 7 encounters as opposed to 6, and I think using Dustox and Beautifly is going to be fine. You guys will have to let me know what you think of that little slight rule change. It's bug type Pokemon in Generation 3. This run is going to be hard enough. But let's go train this Wurmple up and see what it actually evolves into. The moment of truth here after we defeat this bug catcher is Wurmple actually evolves into... The animation looks exactly the same, but as it turns out, it does evolve into a Silcoon, which is great because it's going to evolve into a Beautifly, which is why we name this thing Swallowtail. Perfect. If you are doing a bug run of your own, avoid this trainer right here. This trainer has cost me so many attempts. Attempt 12 is not because of this trainer, but the first 3 losses were to this trainer because I wasn't paying attention. He has a Tailo that knows Gust, and it can easily one-shot your only Pokemon at the time. Here is our Cascoon named Sphinx. It has a quirky neutral nature. We met it in Petalburg Woods. Time to train this thing up and get ready for the Roxanne fight. Not before getting our Nincada named Cicada. It has a careful plus special defense minus special attack nature. There's a pretty cool thing when leveling up Nincada here. When it gets to level 20, if you have a Pokeball and an open spot in your team, you will get a Shed Ninja as well as a Ninjask. So that's pretty cool. Gives us an extra encounter. Time to do some grinding and get ready for Roxanne. The The first gym leader is Roxanne, who leads with a Geodude. Her first two Geodudes are quad weak to Grass, and a Swallowtail knows Absorb. It doesn't always KO the Geodudes, but in this instant it KOs both of them. As you see, we're on attempt 12. We've lost a few times to Roxanne. I lost a couple of times to Flannery. And despite what you might think, I've never lost to Winona. However, we did lose to Tate and Liza once, so that is why we are on attempt 12. Both of her Geodudes go down to a single Absorb in this attempt, and out comes Nosepass. Nosepass is not quad weak to Grass, so I swap in Cicada. Nosepass just goes for Harden, and I go for Sand Attack. Nosepass goes for Harden again, and it seems like it's a speed tie because it gets another Harden off as we go for Sand Attack. I am worried about this thing using Block, so we do swap into Swallowtail, and of course, as we swap in, we get hit with Block. Block prevents us from escaping, meaning we can no longer swap, and a Rock Tomb from Nosepass will KO Swallowtail immediately. We are quad weak to Rock. We do get off an Absorb that is a critical hit, and we have a Rock Tomb miss. We go for Absorb again, and Rock Tomb misses again. At this time, the Oranberry activates for Nosepass, and we hit it with another Absorb. A Rock Tomb misses. The Sand Attacks were well used. Roxanne goes for a Potion. I go for a Poison Sting, fishing for the poison, and surprisingly, we get it. That is insane. We go for another Absorb. It goes for Rock Tomb and misses. Roxanne uses her last potion. I get back-to-back Absorbs because of the heal turn. Rock Tomb misses, and a final Absorb KOs the Nosepass combined with the poison damage. This was an insane battle, and probably the best attempt I've had at Roxanne so far. The rival battle with May throughout this game is pretty uneventful. The one after Brawly on Route 110 is about the only one that is difficult, but if you're leveled up and prepared for it, it's no big deal. I've been playing enough of these at this point where I'm not really going to narrate these battles anymore unless something crazy happens, so we're just going to skip this battle and move forward. Alright, Brawly time. We're leading with Swallowtail as he leads with Machop. You can see we got the stuff on the bottom fixed, which is real nice. Swallowtail has Learn Gust, which is going to help us severely in this battle. We go for a Gust, and Machop goes for Low Kick, which is very uncharacteristic. Normally, Machop goes for Bulk Up on turn 1. Brawly, however, does heal with a Super Potion, so we get back-to-back Gusts to take out Machop. Out comes Meditite, and normally this thing just goes for Focus Punch. We go for Gust, and it goes for Bulk Up, so nothing is going the way it normally does in this fight. Brawly goes for another Super Potion, his last, and we go for 2 Gusts to take out the Meditite. Out comes Makuhita. We get off a Gust. It hits a Bulk Up, very characteristic. The Citrus Berry heals it up quite a bit. Otherwise, this would have been a 2-shot. We go for another Gust. It goes for a Bulk Up. We go for a Gust, dropping it into low health, and it hits us with a nasty reversal. I was very, very scared when this happened. Oh, but Swallowtail held on, and a last Gust KOs the Makuhita, winning us the battle. We need some new team members and a little bit of training, and I think this team is going to come along just fine. We did evolve our Cicada into Ninjask here. This is a nice Pokemon with speed boost, and of course we got the Shedinja with Wonder Guard. It has the exact same careful nature, plus special defense minus special attack. You guys know the gimmick of this thing. It has 1 HP and can only be attacked by super effective moves, which in this game, most Pokemon have something super effective against it. The Route 110 May battle goes pretty easy for us. I did bring Swallowtail to the level cap because I will not be using this Pokemon for the Watson battle. I go for Mega Drain against Wingull. It does over half damage. It goes for a wing attack that drops us to 42 HP. We go for another Mega Drain, bringing us back up to 50 HP and KOing the Wingull. Out comes Combusken. We go for a Gust, which actually gets a critical hit and one-shots the Combuskin. Out comes Lombre, and we hit this thing with a Gust to what must be a sliver, 1 HP. It gets off a very weak Astonish, and we KO it with another Gust. Again, this was an easy battle. Swallowtail is at the level cap. We're not going to use it at Watson, but it did get us through the May battle. On Route 117, we do encounter an Illumise named Firefly. Volbeat was not going to be the encounter we got. It has a modest plus special attack minus attack nature, which is amazing. There is a use for this Pokemon. The third gym leader is Watson, and he leads with his trusty Voltorb, and I lead with Sphinx. Voltorb hits us with a nice shockwave, and we get off a pretty decent Psybeam. We're doing about the same damage to one another. Maybe we're squeaking out just a little bit more damage. There's a second round of shockwave Psybeam, and I'm at the threshold, and Voltorb is at the threshold where I know Watson likes to go for self-destruct, so I go for Protect. It goes for Shockwave. I'm convinced this thing is going to go for self-destruct, so I try for another Protect, and lo and behold, Watson goes for self-destruct. Voltorb faints, and we don't take a shred of damage. I don't want to lose any Pokemon, but we could lose Sphinx here if we needed to. Out comes Electrike, and Electrike doesn't actually have a move that can hurt Shedinja, so we send out Exocata to take out Electrike with some Fury Cutters. All it can really do is use Leer on us. We do get paralyzed off the static ability, and it could have Thunder Waved us had it not been for static. Out comes Magneton, and Magneton is a whole other thing because it has Supersonic. We can be confused and hurt ourselves in confusion. You can get a Person Berry from the Berry Lady's house outside of Petalburg Woods, but I didn't get one. So what we need to do is swap back and forth to force Magneton to use Supersonic every time Shedinja's out. We just swap between Sphinx and Exocata, and eventually Magneton runs out of power points for Supersonic. At this point, we can start building up Fury Cutters. We are paralyzed, so I do try Fury Swipes. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so we just go back to Fury Cutter and eventually take the Magneton out. Last up for Watson is Manectric. Same thing, it has no attacking moves that can do damage to Shedinja, so I leave it in, get a critical hit Fury Cutter, and even after the Citrus Berry heal, a second Fury Cutter takes out Manectric. I got Flannery coming up next, and there is an encounter in this desert that would take neutral damage from fire-type moves, and can learn rock moves, and would have a stab super effective move against her Pokemon if we could just get it. But unfortunately, we can't get it until after we beat Flannery. So now, we gotta panic. Just a little bit. Fourth up is Flannery. You guys probably guessed the strategy that we're going to use, but Cicada is going to get off a double team, and we actually have an Overheat miss. Overheat is not 100% accurate anyway. I go for a second double team, and a second Overheat misses. Now this is where things get a little dicey because I need to use Swords Dance 3 times. I go for Swords Dance, Overheat misses. I go for Swords Dance again and Overheat misses once more. I go for a final Swords Dance and Overheat misses. Oh, I just slapped my leg. I was so excited. And now we can one-shot all of Flannery's Pokemon. Numel is a one-shot with a Dig. Slugma is a one-shot with Dig. Camerupt is a one-shot with Dig. And the final Swords Dance was needed to one-shot the Torkoal. Again, we're on attempt 12. This did stall me out a couple of times. Surprisingly, this is my third attempt at Flannery. We didn't lose all that often. RNGesus has been with us for a little while. Our next encounter is an Anorith named Anomalocaris. It has a Calm plus special defense minus attack nature, which is not great for a future Armaldo. But I'll take it. Fifth up is our deadbeat dad Norman, and we lead with Cicada. Now we're going for a similar strat that we did to Flannery. We go for a double team, and there's actually a Teeter Dance miss. We go for a second double team, and Teeter Dance hits. We do hurt ourselves in confusion, but Facade misses. We do get off a double team, and he goes for Teeter Dance because the AI cheats. We've already talked about this. We hurt ourselves in confusion again, and Facade misses. We snap out of confusion, go for Swords Dance. We have a Teeter Dance miss. We go for another Swords Dance, and we have a Facade hit. We are at 12 HP. I have to go for another Swords Dance, and there is a Side Beam miss. We're very, very lucky. Slash KOs the Spinda. Out comes Vigoroth, and we slash KO it. Out comes Lanoon, and we use slash to one-shot it. Lanoon is dangerous. If we couldn't one-shot it, it could use Belly Drum and wipe our whole team. Out comes Slacking, and this is a weird play. Slacking has Feint Attack. We go for slash, it goes for Facade. It could have killed us with Feint Attack. The Citrus Berry heals up the Slacking. We go for slash again. It loafs. On its attacking turn, Norman decides to go for a Hyper Potion, so we set up a Dig. Having Dig or Protect, you can actually beat Slacking very easy. We use Dig. Slacking's loafing. We go for Dig, so Feint Attack misses. There's that Feint Attack that it could have KO'd with us. We use Dig. It loafs. Norman goes for another Hyper Potion, so we slash for over half health, and a second slash KOs. I forgot about the Citrus Berry, otherwise our slashes would have KO'd it originally, and we kind of played around with some critical hits, and this was a very, very risky battle, but we won. Normally I don't do this side quest right here with Watson. Watson wants us to go to New Mauville and shut off the generator, and we are going to do this. Because the reward for this is TM24 Thunderbolt that we can teach to Firefly and have it a very good special attacking move that does a lot of damage, and it's super effective against flying types. I don't know if this is going to be the answer to Winona or not, but it is definitely a good strategy. I lead with Cicada against Winona and her Swablu. We're going to set up a Swords Dance. I was going to lead with Firefly, but Thunderbolt actually is not enough to KO a couple of the Pokemon such as Tropius. The best bet for us is to set up some Swords Dances and then one-shot her team, hopefully. We get a Mirror move on the first Swords Dance. As per usual, we get a Safeguard, and then we go for a third and final Swords Dance, and we just get a Mirror move. We've learned that this kind of tricks the AI, so we don't get attacked, and we go for Slash, which we just learned, and KO the Swablu. Out comes Tropius, and we one-shot it with a Slash. Out comes Pelipper, and annoyingly, it goes for Protect on its first turn, so we have to wait for the second round to KO it with a single Slash. Out comes Altaria, and we KO this thing with a single Slash. That's pretty awesome. This is why we use Swords Dance strats. Out comes Skarmory. I go for Slash. It's a critical hit, which normally would be great, but we don't one-shot it and get hit with a Sand Attack. I did not want to put this thing in such a low range because Winona does go for a Hyper Potion. I go for another Slash. My plan was to do what we're about to do, which is pivot to Anom on an Aerial Ace, because it's neutral damage, and then we pivot to Firefly on a Steel Wing and use Thunderbolt to KO the Skarmory. That was always the plan. It worked very well. We didn't lose any team members, and we got access to a very great move, Aerial Ace. After that, we make our way to the Safari Zone, and we actually have a choice to make here. We could come north with the Acrobike, and we could go across this bridge here, which we did in the last Emerald Run, and get ourselves a Heracross. Or we can come to the south here and follow along these trees and make our way over to a little bit of a water pond. After the little puddle, not pond, we come to like a little lake, and we can go north from this thing through this mud right here on the Mach Bike. And we come to this patch of grass where we can encounter a Pinsir. I do decide to go with Pincer, we name it Stag Beetle. It has a serious neutral nature. We've used Heracross a few times, but if you watched my Fire Red bug only run, Pincer is a beast of a Pokemon, so I'm happy to add this thing to the team. Now this is the grind that you typically don't see. We're sat here in the Safari Zone still trying to catch some Doduos because they have a 5% chance of holding a certain item. I do this quite often in these games, battling these different Pokemon, using Thief, catching them, whatever it takes to get these different held items in both my Fire Red runs and my Emerald runs. This is going to take some time. And all of that was to get this Pokemon right here that is holding a sharp beak. We have caught so many Doduos. There's over 30 here, or around 30 in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, almost 30, just to get a sharp beak, which is going to be a great held item in combination with Aerial Ace and Stab on Cicada. We have plans. Now, I get to release all of these Doduos. Bye-bye. Tate and Liza is a battle that should never be taken lightly. Despite us having Bug-type Pokemon which are super effective against Psychic, we have lost this battle once before. Xatu outspeeds the team to go for Calm Mind, and I use Fury Cutter on Claydol. I did decide to go for Encore against Xatu because it typically sets up with Calm Mind, and we lock it into Calm Mind for a few turns. Claydol, of course, hits us with Earthquake, which is resisted by both Stag and Firefly, being Bug-type. Xatu then goes for Calm Mind, our Fury Cutter misses, and I go for a Charm on Claydol, so the next Earthquake does a very pitiful damage. Xatu Calm Minds once again, we go for Fury Cutter on Xatu, and a Thunderbolt from Firefly critically hits, KOing the Xatu, which is wonderful. Out comes Soul Rock, and we get hit with another weak Earthquake. We use Fury Cutter on Claydol. I go to heal a little bit of health on Firefly with Moonlight. Earthquake hits us for very weak damage, and Soul Rock decides to go for Flamethrower on Firefly. I swap Firefly out for Anam. We go for Fury Cutter on Soul Rock, doing well over half damage. Claydol decides to go for Psychic against Anam, and Soul Rock goes for Flamethrower against Anam. It's neutral damage, so we don't die. Soul Rock has a little bit of healing from its Citrus Berry. I decide to swap Anam to Sphinx because of the double team. We go for a Fury Cutter and KO the Soul Rock, so out comes Lunatone. We get hit with another weak Earthquake, but that is enough to drop Stag into her Citrus Berry range. I decide to swap Sphinx out for Swallowtail immediately. Stag goes for a Fury Cutter and KOs the Lunatone. Earthquake misses the Swallowtail because of the flying type, and on our last turn, a Fury Cutter KOs the Claydol. This was a pretty easy battle after we developed our strategy using Charm and a Citrus Berry. No Groudon Kyogre shenanigans, straight to Juan, who leads with Love Disc, and I lead with Firefly. We go for Thunderbolt, and it one-shots Love Disc. Out comes Whiscash, as you probably would have guessed. And I swapped to Swallowtail on what should have been an Earthquake, but because the AI cheats, he goes for Amnesia. So we go for Giga Drain. It goes for Amnesia again. We go for Giga Drain, dropping it very low into red health. It goes for Water Pulse, and of course, Juan just decides to heal up with a Hyper Potion. We get back-to-back Giga Drains. Whiscash goes for a Rain Dance, and a final Giga Drain KOs it. Out comes Celio. I decide to swap a Firefly. We get hit with an Aurora Beam on the swap. We go for Thunderbolt. It goes for Water Pulse. I decide to go to Moonlight because I thought Juan would heal, but it doesn't heal, and it just goes for Water Pulse. It's going for Water Pulse because of the Rain Dance. The rain does stop, which means Moonlight will heal more than it did. We get hit with another Aurora Beam, and we hit another Moonlight to get ourselves to full HP. I wanted to be as close to full as we could. We get hit with an Aurora Beam, and a Thunderbolt KOs the Celio. Out comes Crawdaunt, who goes down to a single Thunderbolt. And last but not least is Kingdra. which I hit Encore and it goes for double team like I knew it would. So I swap to Cicada. It's still going for double team. I go for a single Swords Dance as it goes for double team again. Aerial Ace does over half damage. One more double team and an Aerial Ace KOs. The Sharp Beak was well worth the time invested, and Aerial Ace is a great move, being a stab, a super effective move. So here is the team leveled up to level 55. We have Cicada the Ninjask. It has the Sharp Beak with Aerial Ace, Baton Pass, Swords Dance, and Double Team. We have Stag Beetle the Pincer. It is holding the Soft Sand. It has Brick Break, Earthquake, Strength, and Swords Dance. Two very great Pokemon. We have Swallowtail the Beautifly. It is holding the Miracle Seed with Giga Drain, Silverwind, Gust, and Morning Sun. Next up, we have Firefly the Illumise. It is holding the Magnet. It has Thunderbolt, Encore, Charm, and Moonlight. Next up is Exocada the Shedinja. It is holding nothing. It has Shadow Ball, Confuse Ray, Scratch, and Fury Cutter. I decided to go with Shedinja as opposed to Shinx because I thought this might be able to do something for us in the Elite Four. I don't know. Last but not least is Anam the Armaldo holding the Heartstone. It has Ancient Power, Protect, Slash, and Fury Cutter. I'm probably going to teach it Return instead of Slash. First up for the Elite Four is Sydney, and of course we lead with Stag Beetle. Who else did you think we were going to lead with? The Intimidate doesn't work because of our Hyper Cutter. I go for Brick Break, and we one-shot the Mightyena. Out comes Absol, and Absol normally likes to go for Swords Dance, so I go for one Swords Dance just in case we can't KO everything in a one-shot, and it goes for Rock Slide, which is uncharacteristic. A Brick Break does KO it, however, and out comes Shiftry. A single Brick Break KOs it. Out comes Cacturn, and a single Brick Break KOs it. And last but not least is Crawdunt, which we one-shot with a Brick Break. Next up is Phoebe. She leads with her Protecting Dusclops, and I lead with Cicada. We're going to go for a Swords Dance, a setup, and sweep. Dusclops, of course, protects the first turn, and we go for Swords Dance. We go for Swords Dance again, and Dusclops hits us with a Shadow Punch. Next round, Dusclops does go Protect, so we go for Swords Dance. And surprisingly, she goes for a second Protect, which hits, so we miss. And finally connect with an Aerial Ace to KO. Out comes her more bulky Bayonet, and we one-shot it with Aerial Ace. Out comes the more bulky and better equipped Dusclops for type coverage. We one-shot it with an Aerial Ace. Out comes her weaker Bayonet. We one-shot it with Aerial Ace. And last but not least is Sableye, and of course we one-shot it with Aerial Ace. Ninjask is just a beast. Third for the Elite Four is Glalie, the Ice-type trainer. She leads with Celio, and I lead with Stag. This Celio likes to go for Hail, so I set up a single Swords Dance on turn 1. And not to disappoint, Celio does go for Hail. We go for Brick Break and KO the Celio. Out comes Glalie. We one-shot it with a Brick Break. Out comes her second Celio. We one-shot it with a Brick Break. Out comes her second Glalie, and we one-shot it with the Brick Break. Now, I don't think I could have one-shot the Wall Rain without a Swords Dance, and I don't know if a single Swords Dance is enough, but we click Brick Break as the hail does stop. And we actually one-shot the Wall Rain. I didn't think that was going to be possible, but if you have a Fighting or Rock-type move, this battle is normally relatively easy. 3 Elite Four members down, 1 to go. Last for the Elite Four is Drake. He leads with his Shelgon, and I lead with Cicada. Normally Shelgon likes to go for Protect, so I go for Swords Dance. However, this time it goes for Rock Tomb. It misses. We should be able to survive at least one. We go for another Swords Dance, and Rock Tomb misses again. That's insane. We go for a third and final Swords Dance, and Rock Tomb misses. Nice. We Baton Pass to Anam, and a Rock Tomb hits on the switch in. Shelgon then goes for Protect, and then goes for a second Protect, and finally a return KOs it. Out comes Kingdra, and we go for return. It one-shots the Kingdra. Out comes Salamence, and its Intimidate brings us down to +5 attack. We go for Ancient Power and one-shot the Salamence. Out comes Altaria, and we go for Ancient Power for the one-shot. And last but not least is Flygon, which we click Ancient Power because I forgot that Flygon is Ground Dragon, not Dragon Flying. So it doesn't quite one-shot it. We get hit with a pretty weak Earthquake, and a return KOs the Flygon. Last is Champion Juan, who leads with Wailord, and I lead with Firefly. I click Thunderbolt. Wailord could go for any number of moves. It has Double Edge, it has Water Spout, Blizzard, and Rain Dance. It does like to go for Rain Dance normally. However, on this turn it decides to go for Water Spout, and because we did so much damage to it, it doesn't do a lot of damage to us. A second Thunderbolt KOs the Wailord, and out comes Tentacruel. It of course outspeeds us and connects with a Toxic, and we hit it with a critical hit Thunderbolt. I know there's going to be a full restore, which there is, so I go for Encore, locking Tentacruel into Toxic. You may think that's a weird strategy, but now it can't do any damage to Firefly. So we have a Toxic Miss, a Thunderbolt that doesn't quite do half, another Toxic Miss, a Thunderbolt that drops it deep into the red, a final Toxic Miss, and a final Thunderbolt to KO. We could have swapped Firefly out for Stag Beetle at any point, but we didn't, and as Ludicolo comes out, Firefly faints due to poison. That is pretty good because now I can put Cicada in there without taking any damage. We go for Swords Dance as Ludicolo goes for Leech Seed. That is actually very weird. Normally it likes to go for Double Team. I go for another Swords Dance, and there's the double team that I know Ludicolo likes to use. The whole reason we taught Cicada Aerial Ace way back when. We go for a third and final Swords Dance, and Ludicolo goes for another double team. Aerial Ace does KO the Ludicolo. Out comes Melodic. We one-shot it with a single Aerial Ace. Out comes Whiscash. We single-shot it with a Aerial Ace. And out comes Gyarados. We are getting low because of the Leech Seed damage, and I could probably stay in and take out the Gyarados with a single shot, but I decide to Baton Pass to a Nom, and of course the AI cheats. It knows I'm going to Baton Pass because it went for Surf. I didn't know this, but when we Baton Passed all of our speed boosts and our attack boosts, we also Baton Passed the Leech Seed because a Nom gets hit with Leech Seed. But we do get an Ancient Power off to one-shot the Gyarados, winning us the battle. Firefly was an unnecessary death, to be honest, but this battle is very, very difficult despite all the water types. This run has by far gotten to be my favorite run. A lot of these Pokemon I didn't know were that great. Firefly is a great special attacker. We know Pinsir's a very good Pokemon from our Bug-type run in Fire Red. Swallowtail, though it didn't have an appearance in the Elite Four, did get us through a couple of very early crucial battles. Cicada, MVP of the team. An amazing Pokemon. Armaldo is a very good Pokemon as well, and Shedinja is just a gimmick. A lot of Pokemon have super effective moves, so we didn't really get to use it. I don't think Sphinx would have helped us any more in the Elite Four than Shedinja did. But there is the entire team, champions of the Hall of Fame, beat out all of the different Pokemon trainers, and I cannot believe my little team of bugs did so well. I love doing these runs, these monotype challenges, because I learn so many things. I have never used a Ninjask in a single playthrough, and I should have been using a Ninjask in every single playthrough because it is a wonderful, wonderful Pokemon, especially if you can set up. Speed Boost makes it outspeed everything, and then Baton Passing all of that to another Pokemon, phenomenal. Very, very fun run, but it did take a long time, and I cannot wait to get to the next run. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about the layout, and if you guys enjoyed all of that. Next run, we're going to do a Rock-type run in Fire Red, so I need to get this thing edited. rendered, uploaded, so we can get to working on the next video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.